Hello, everybody. Welcome to our review for Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Episode 3, Power Broker. I keep wanting to call it The Power Broker, but it's just Power Broker. This episode went up about a week and a half ago, and I watched it actually the day it came out, but I haven't had a chance to sit down and actually review it yet. Before I even start on this, I have not watched Episode 4 yet. And Episode 5 comes out later this week. I'm going to be doing a review of Episode 4 on Wednesday. Episode 5 will go up on Friday like it would normally would. But just so that, you know, we're clear right out the gates that there's no knowledge of Episode 4 going into this. I've avoided all spoilers and all discussions on the show as of, you know, last Friday. So anything that's gone on since then, I guess, is not known to me. So we're just talking about Episode 3, which actually starts out with this really, like, I want to say dystopian, but I guess utopian in sort of the classic sense of, like, disturbingly, like, oh, the future's great. An ad for the Global Repatriation Council, which definitely is, you know, designed, I guess, for, you know, in the meta sense of, like, it made me feel a little uncomfortable. It's one of those, like, everything's gonna be great. Just do what we say, and we will help all of the people who have returned from the blip. Fuck all those other people who lived through 5 years of hell. It's you people who didn't go through anything and then fast-forwarded 5 years. You are the ones we will help. It's notable that they've got, like, a reset. They specifically have reset as part of their slogan, which definitely, like, I feel like that kind of plays into the dichotomy between the GRC, who are very strictly on the side of, we need to send things back to where they were 5 years ago. That's what we're aiming for. And the Flag Smashers and their, you know, loyalists and the people that are allied with them, who are more like, no, life was actually better in the blip. And, like, there's these two entire opposite kind of, you know, mindsets, and we got to find something in the middle to make this whole thing work. But the ad at the beginning, very kind of spooky and a little off-putting, very, basically any science fiction that's had, like, some megacorp be the controlling, you know, body of some weird future. Like, that's kind of the angle they went for with that, and I think they did a good job getting that tone in quickly. We open with John. Well, after that, we open with Captain America, the new Captain America, John Walker, and Lamar Hoskins arriving at the place in Germany where Carly Morgenthau and the Flag Smashers were staying at the end of the previous episode. A lot of good camera work and a lot of good, like, direction going on here. We've got, for starters, they roll up in, like, super, like, SWAT looking kind of vehicles and all of that. It's German police, like, van that's there, but it gives a very militaristic kind of feel. When we see John Walker in the van, he's kind of, like, you know, doing one of these things with some lighting coming from the top, so he's got, like, a lot of shadow, you know, going on in the face. So we get, which is a pretty, you know, common sinister bit of characterization to throw in for the camera work. So that was a good good way to introduce him in the episode. So John Walker doesn't speak German, but Lamar Hoskins does. I think he's actually spoken either he spoke another language earlier in the show, or it was stated that he could. But he is, you know, he is essentially the translator for John Walker, and even just, like, the way that they kind of interact, Walker and Hoskins, there's a bit of a, like, I'm your boss kind of mentality at play there. He just kind of, like, you know, he's sort of in charge. He doesn't really talk to Hoskins during his initial attempted interrogation, and when the German guy, you know, doesn't respond in English, he just kind of, like, translate. Like, he just kind of offhandedly is like, hey, you do my thing. And so, like, there's sort of an element of, like, treating Hoskins like a tool, rather than a person during the interrogation there. And the guy winds up spitting on Walker, who freaks the fuck out. Like, I think his voice even cracks. And he's like, do you know who I am? And I was like, yeah, I don't care. Like, which is, yeah, it's like, it's a pretty good kind of display of the kind of person that John Walker thinks he needs to be. Like, he thinks he needs to be, like, you know, Team America World Police man. Like, he's just gonna kind of tough guy it through, and everyone's gonna be like, whoa, it's Captain America, we better tell him everything. And the other guy's just like, I don't give a shit that you're the new Captain America. No, I'm not gonna talk. It definitely has a sort of element of, like, you get sort of that same sense of either, like, celebrity status of, like, don't you know who I am kind of thing, and sort of in the same way of, like, excess use of force of you know, the police and the military and that kind of thing. You get a lot of, like, shades of that from Walker, where he flies off the handle very quickly and just kind of goes, and it's essentially, you know, subconsciously just kind of like, you're supposed to listen to me, you're supposed to do what I say kind of deal. So, like, we kind of have a bit of a peek into his psyche there. I don't think we actually see either of them for basically the rest of the episode. Most of the rest of the episode really focuses on Sam and Bucky. We do catch them near the end where well, I guess they're kind of on the trail of what Sam and Bucky are doing right now, but we don't really see much more of them. While we're on Walker and Hoskins, I have been flipping between a couple different thoughts about, so this episode marks the halfway point for the show. After this is now, so 3 before, 3 after. And at first I was like, all right, so my initial perception of Walker was going to be that he was going to, similar to his character from the comics, he was going to essentially just buckle real hard from the pressure of this job that he now has, and he was not going to be able to handle the pressure. He was not going to be able to handle the weight of the mantle of Captain America, and that essentially he was going to just lose it in a bid to solve the situation through, like, hyper control. Like, he was going to start doing villainous things in order to take control of the situation. And either Hoskins was going to eventually defect to try to stop him, or, you know, he kind of serves as, like, a loyal, you know, sidekick, I guess. Now I'm kind of wondering if they're going to, like, if that's a huge red herring, because we're starting to reach a point where there's a lot of bad guys. You've got John Walker, who is slowly becoming kind of an anti-hero, anti-villain kind of character. You've got the Flag Smashers, who are definitely in the anti-villain realm, though they're leaning more straight villainous, at least Carly is, where the Flag Smashers are like, we're doing this because this is what we need to do to survive. We just have to do this. And Carly is much more just like, no, let's blow shit up. Let's do what we have to do to send a message. And her friend is just kind of like, okay, I guess. So we've got Flag Smashers, we got New Cap, Baron Zemo, Helmut Zemo finally arrives in this episode, and he does outright state that he is a Baron, or he was a Baron, in Sokovia, which so the sound of things is that Sokovia as a country does not exist anymore. Age of Ultron kind of made the whole Sokovia situation very confusing, because it gets presented as that, like, the entirety of Sokovia is lifted up into the air, but when you see what's lifted up in the air, it's like that's either an extremely small country or, like, the capital city of a country, and maybe that got dropped into, and the rest of Sokovia, like, kind of was destroyed in the rubble. But essentially we find out that Sokovia was destroyed, and what was left of it essentially got annexed away to various neighboring countries. Realistically would mostly be Russia, just based off of, like, you know, where it's positioned in the world and what's nearby. But it sounds like a few countries wound up getting a piece. But so we get Baron Zemo. So it's kind of an amusing interaction there. So Bucky and Sam go to visit him in a like a prison hospital, or a hospital prison, a little of both. It's kind of, it appears to be a mashup of a prison, a mental health facility, and a like standard medical hospital. So it's kind of a bunch of things mashed together. But so my expectation was, so Sam and Bucky are headed in, and Bucky's like, no, I'm going to see him alone. I know, where this guy comes from. I know what his deal is. I'm gonna talk with him. And as soon as it's like, all right, Bucky's going to see him alone, Zemo is 100% going to start rattling off the code words, the Winter Soldier code words, and they're not going to do jack shit. They're going to do nothing. He's just going to like, nope, sorry. Those days are behind me. I'm not that anymore. And that's exactly what happens. From the shadows, you just start hearing the words. The only ones that I remember are, there's Rusted, there's Homecoming, there's 17. I don't remember any of the other ones. Homecoming was an interesting one just because Spider-Man Homecoming came out so soon after that. But I don't know what I don't know. I'd be curious if the code words actually mean something to the Russo brothers or to who actually wrote that. I don't actually know who wrote Captain America Civil War. It was written by nobody, according to my... There we go. Marcus and McFeely. That's right. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe it meant something to them. Maybe it meant something to the Russos. I don't know. But yeah, so he rattles that off. It has no effect. He's just kind of like, yep, nothing there. The whole scene kind of feels very Silence of the Lambs because Bucky is very much like, look, there are bad people out there doing a thing, and like we need to know what their next moves are going to be. And he basically tells them outright, it's like, yo, there are super soldiers out there, and you were trying to stop these super soldiers from existing, so we need your information about anything you know about this serum. So we wind up in a situation where Sam and Bucky leave, and they're in this like weird garage. Sam doesn't know what the hell's going on, and Bucky is just sort of like, so, would it be bad if, and literally walks through a description of him orchestrating Zemo's ability to escape from the prison, which he does, meets up. Sam is obviously pissed, and the three of them are just take the animosity that Sam and Bucky have to each other and just exponentially increase it. Now the three of them are like at each other's throats constantly. There's a lot of bickering between Sam and Bucky. Both of them doubly so at Zemo. And Zemo, in turn, is taking a great amount of pleasure in, like, twisting the knife on both of them in order to, like, agitate and make them, like, be upset with each other a bunch. On the plane, they're talking about the music that Sam had recommended to Cap way back. And it actually turns out that the book that Bucky's writing his like list of amends in is actually the same book that Cap had in Winter Soldier, that he was writing down essentially his like list of cultural things to help catch him up to the 2010s. So I thought that was a nice little bit of continuity there. Like, kind of, we see a lot between this episode and the last one. We see a lot of Bucky really hanging on to Steve's memory as much as he can. I'm still not entirely sure if Steve is actually dead or if he's just retired and has more or less made it known to made it such that the world believes he's dead or something. I think I was talking with CJ about it, and like the reference to like, so is it true he's on the moon? He's like, no, he's like, if the joke about him being on the moon is going to lead to some weird reveal that like, oh, Cap, upon retirement is like hanging out with the Skrulls in space or some crazy shit. Like, I don't know, but I love the animosity there. We actually get to see as they're kind of making their way to their first sort of checkpoint on this journey, we get to see the Flag Smashers. We get to see Carly with a woman who appears to be dying. We find out later her name is Mama Danya. And by Mama Danya, it's like it's her foster mother, I think, or adoptive mother. It sounds like she was a foster mother for a lot of the Flag Smashers. And she has a charm, like a little, like, looks almost like rosary beads, but there's a charm on there that's like a hand with a globe in it, and it's very clear that's the origin of the symbol that they use as the Flag Smashers. That's more of like a bloody palm print with kind of a negative of the world in there. But yeah, so we get to see the origin of the symbol, which is pretty neat. and our three main people, I can't even necessarily call them heroes right now, but Sam, Bucky, and Zemo head to Madripoor, which I'm not familiar with, but is a place that comes up a bunch in Marvel Comics as, I believe, just sort of a generally like lawless place. It basically is nowhere on Earth. That would make for a great like tourism thing. Madripoor, like nowhere on Earth, but the nowhere is spelled with a K. But yeah, so it looks like Blade Runner, like it's a general kind of future dystopian kind of looking place with neon lights and stuff. And essentially they have to sort of sneak in and pretend to be, well, so Zemo is being Zemo. Bucky is being the Winter Soldier, not Bucky. He is explicitly supposed to be like a still under control, Winter Soldier. And I'm trying to find real quick. I took it. Oh, so Sam Wilson is supposed to be Conrad Mack, the Smiling Tiger, who I would have to imagine is probably also an actual Marvel Comics character that's not, really showing up in this stuff. Or maybe he will later and he's pissed because someone stole his identity. But just this tough-looking dude who, based on the fashions of Madripoor, according to Sam himself, and I'm inclined to agree, just looks like a pimp. It's a weird-ass look. But so they are headed to talk to Selby. Selby is their first contact. So they go to a bar. Sam drinks some awful concoction, and he only drinks it because it's like, the usual. And he's like, and so the guy pours a shot of something and then throws like a snake, some kind of presumably venomous snake, on the table, cuts it open, and pulls something out. Now, I know that there's like snake wine, and I don't know if snake wine is the specific one that does it, but there are alcohols that are made using snake's blood, and some that use actual, I think there are ones that actually use snake venom, because the idea is venom is not poisonous. It's a whole complicated thing, but the whole problem with venom is if it gets into your blood, that's the bad thing. But like there are ways to ingest it, I guess, where it won't fuck you up, even though your mouth is very much a mucous membrane-y zone where you'll absorb all sorts of shit into your bloodstream there. So I have no idea how that stuff works. I'm just gonna assume it was like a venom sac. And once it hits your stomach acid, it gets absorbed and melted and all of it dissolved. That's the word I'm thinking. It's like, what the hell's the word I'm thinking of? But yeah, it looked like a lymph node from a person, but it was in a snake. So someone in the comments, please, by all means, let me know what the hell that was. Because I have no idea. My guess is some kind of a venom producing lymph node, I guess. But yeah, so looks disgusting. Poor Sam goes along with it. He looks miserable. They immediately get into a huge fight, and then they get let off to Selby. And when they're there, essentially, Zemo is looking for information. So Zemo clearly is like not the one in charge of this conversation. So the idea is he wants information on who made the serum, and if he gets that, then Selby gets the Winter Soldier. Like, she will just get the Winter Soldier. Excuse me. And she's very interested in that. And also she notices right away. She looks at Sam. And she's like, "Oh, you're a bit taller than the Smiling Tiger." Or you're a bit taller than I imagined, or something like that. And it's like, okay, that's a bad sign that she's already suspicious of this situation right away. I mean, that's her job to be, but still, it's just kind of like, we might be in a bit of trouble here already. Like, you kind of go into this expecting there's going to be like a shootout or some kind of confrontation, but like that was very quick. Like immediately into the conversation, she's like, anyway. So yeah, the serum itself is in Madripoor, so that's convenient that it's nearby. It was a Dr. Wilfred Nagel, who I'm not familiar with that name. Might be a character in the comics, might be brand new. But he is essentially responsible for it. There's a big shootout. Oh, God, that's right. The way the shootout winds up happening is that Sam's sister calls him out of the blue. And for some reason, Sam doesn't put his phone on vibrate when he takes it with him on incredibly dangerous missions. That seems dumb. That seems incredibly dumb. That's one of those things where it's like, it simultaneously feels very hackneyed from a writing standpoint, where it's like, really? This guy's going to just take his normal-ass phone, just leaving it as normal on there? Yeah. And also, like, wow, are we supposed to assume that Sam is, like, way out of his depth here in terms of, because, like, he's not really a spy. Sam is much more of a soldier than a spy. So, like, yeah, this is a little outside of his normal, like, purview. But still, that's just like, damn, dude, that's a hell of a mistake to make during all this. Obviously, Sam totally blows their cover while he's on the phone and pretending to be, you know, smiling tiger to his sister. So Selby orders them killed, but then gets hit by sniper fire. And as they run out, they are on their way out. There's immediately a message that goes to literally the entirety of Madripoor that anyone that can kill these her Selby's killers will get 1,000 Bitcoin, which off the top of my head right now would probably be worth approximately $55 million, I guess. I think Bitcoin is like 60K right now. I'm actually curious. Let's find out. Oh no, it appears to be a little up past 60K as I'm recording this. 60,608 and 60 cents. So yeah, basically 60 million bucks. Assuming it happened today. Why not? But either way, yeah, 1,000 Bitcoin to anyone who would do that. So the entirety of Lowtown, because Madripoor is Lowtown and Hightown, now is like immediately like and like they're getting shot. They're trying to avoid it. And they run into Sharon Carter, who has been living off the grid since Civil War, since she stole back their equipment from the U.S. government for them to participate in the airport fight. So yeah, she's been not just living off the grid. Because she's been in Madripoor, she's had to resort to becoming a criminal, and she's become like a very successful art thief. And she has a huge gallery of legitimate art that she's stolen. And she seems to have like no interest whatsoever in returning to her old life. Like she has fallen a long ways. Because she was in S.H.I.E.L.D. and then she was in the CIA, and now she's here. Yeah. So she's had a rough go. And Sam essentially tries to promise, like, look, if you help us, I'll get you back into the States. I'll make it so that your problems go away. And she's like, bullshit. I'll help you, but yeah, we'll see. And you know, he insists that's like, look, I will make it happen. Like, I'm not going to not let this be fixed, but... So she agrees to help. We get an awesome scene of essentially she's hosting a bunch of people who are there to presumably buy this art for extremely exorbitant prices. And it's treated like kind of a club scene. So there's like the worst EDM music I've ever heard. It's sensationally awful EDM. If you don't listen to like any electronic or techno music, then yeah, this is like, sure, this is the shorthand for techno music. You understand what this EDM is because it's a repetitive electronic track. But it's bad. I don't know anyone who likes EDM who would like the track that's playing, and it's just like ultimately there's just the voice going low, 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 low for an incredibly long time. We do get Baron Zemo with his little dad dance going on there. That's a great... It literally looks like he is legitimately like uptight Eastern European dude. Just apparently they recorded a shitload of footage of him just dancing around like an idiot. And I don't know why they record as much as they did, but they have released, because of the fan, like, you know, outcry for it, a 1 hour version of him dancing. And it's just I haven't watched more than a few seconds of it, but it's apparently just a ton of shots of him dancing in the crowd to this music. And I pray that that voice going low, 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 low is going for the entire hour. I'll put a link up there. Now you can go and check it out, assuming that YouTube will let me do that. I think they will. But yeah, that was a fun little moment. But yeah, so they find out where Nagel is going to be. It's at this like shipping dock, the docks where the shipping crates are. And they go inside, and there's like a false floor and false wall and all this stuff. And they go in, and it's like this crazy lab. And we find out that Nagel basically was able to. So you know, the history of the Super-Soldier Serum is that you got the one that Dr. Erskine made in Captain America: The First Avenger, and then in the prelude, I guess, in the build-up to the Incredible Hulk, Bruce Banner was working on one that obviously was incomplete, as it was what transformed him into the Hulk, in addition to, you know, the gamma radiation and all that. They gave a modified version of that to Emil Blonsky, who became the Abomination. Actually, I'm sorry. Here I am playing right into the show's hands. Steve Rogers got the oh, fuck, I'm even wrong with that. Dr. Erskine made the serum. Johann Schmidt injects an unfinished version of it and becomes the Red Skull. Erskine finishes it. Steve Rogers gets the injections and becomes Captain America. In the meanwhile, Isaiah gets injected. It's implied strongly that it's part of the Tuskegee experiments, which is a whole thing. And so not great. And he has his super abilities, and they fuck with him for 30 goddamn years. Then we get Bruce Banner's version, injects into him, makes him the Hulk. Emil makes him the Abomination. I'm trying to remember if Bucky actually gets a version of that formula as well. I don't remember, but I think so. Yeah, because the Winter Soldiers, yeah, he gets a version of it. I guess probably before Isaiah. Actually, maybe after Isaiah, because that might be a later variant of it. But Bucky gets it. The other 5 Winter Soldiers that are killed in Civil War get it, and we wind up here where Nagel has all of this information from all of these decades, and essentially when Hydra fell, he was recruited by the CIA to complete it. So we're back once again to the side of things similar where Thunderbolt Ross was having, you know, stuff brought out from the old Erskine stuff to have Bruce Banner make it. Now the CIA is having Nagel do it, and then the snap happened, and Nagel got dusted. When he came back, the program was shut down, but he still had all of his knowledge about it because it was a moment for him and not 5 years. So he wound up... what was the... Did they actually say who... Oh, yeah, the Power Broker. Duh. The Power Broker funded the remainder of the research, so now he was able to create... He was able to finally finish the Super-Soldier Serum. So it has been recreated essentially from scratch. The key component to it wound up being Isaiah's blood, and made 20 vials of it, about half of which made it into the Flag Smashers, and the rest I think they just kind of have. Like, that was the shipment that was being stolen by the Flag Smashers earlier in the season. That was a really long tangent, but it really does kind of like... So that's sort of the big, like, whoa of everything that happens in this, of, like, Nagel kind of walking us through, like, hey, I finished the serum. Ta-da! But yeah, so he made his 20. I'm, like, checking my notes because I have them in 2 places for this, but... the reason the Flag Smashers wound up as part of this was that Nagel... they were trying to get a hold of Nagel to find out if he could help... Mama Donya, who had tuberculosis. But so they test out the serum, they got the serum, they were super strong, and they were delivering the serum to Mama Donya, but she wound up dying. I believe that's the order of operations for this. I think that's what happened, is they basically didn't make it in time, so now they're pissed. They go and they blow up a supply center for there's a GRC supply center for displaced SNAP refugees, basically. After stealing the supplies so that they could redistribute it. But now they're going from Robin Hood tactics of stealing from all these organizations and giving them to the people who have been screwed by all of this. And now they're going into straight up actual, like, terrorist activity of, like, blowing shit up. And they do kill a handful of the GRC people who are working the supply depot. We're getting a lot of, like, gray morality style stuff going on here, where, like, the good guys aren't entirely good, the bad guys aren't entirely bad, but they're becoming worse, which is sort of the problem. Interestingly, so the citizens of Madripoor essentially, at some point, I don't know how they don't really explain it, but they do have ultimately figure out that Sam and Bucky and Zemo are at Nagel's lab at the docks. So Sharon actually winds up covering for them and is, like, on the outskirts taking down people who are trying to attack. And eventually someone does blow up the lab. And Nagel is dead. So now, presumably because he's dead and the lab gets blown up, the serum, any knowledge of how to recreate the serum is once again lost to time. But there are still either 20 vials or, like, 12-ish vials that are still out there. So that is now a whole thing. My notes are, like, so disorganized for this episode, so I apologize. Oh, but the interesting thing to me, so as they're about to get on the plane, as Sam and Bucky and Zemo are about to get on Zemo's private plane, he has a butler and a private plane and everything, in order to go to Madripoor in the first place. He's grabbing some stuff from some old cars. His family, like, had a bunch of cars that they collected over generations. And he grabs a purple mask, which I believe is part of his, like, standard outfit from the comics. Like, he's got this, like, purple, it looks like just a purple winter, it looks like a purple burglar's mask, basically. Or like a purple, like, I think in the comics it's more of like a luchador mask, but here it's like it looks like a knit mask. He puts it on and starts taking out a bunch of the people who are hunting them, and it's unclear, like, why he's doing that. Like, is it a thing that sends him into, like, a berserker rage or something? There's a line later that implies that their party of people has 2 super soldiers in them or something, which would imply that Zemo is 2 or so. It's, like, it's weird. I don't think Zemo's a super soldier or any kind of enhanced person, but, like, the framing of that scene was very strange to me, and I if they were trying to get something across, I don't know what it was. But so Sam and Bucky and Zemo drive off to where actually are they headed at this point? They are oh, yeah, okay. They are headed to Latvia, where the Flag Smashers were last spotted, and I think that's actually where the supply depot was blown up. Meanwhile, Sharon is like, we got a problem, to some person, and they get in a car, so it's like, all right, is she actually just still... Is she still with the CIA and just under, like, ultra deep cover, and this is just her cover as she's trying to deal with the power broker or something? Or is she the power broker? Like, it could be a villain turn, or maybe she's, under the power broker's thumb or something. They head to Riga. They're headed inside to go and like figure out, you know, what's going on. And Bucky's like, I'll be there in a second. And he sees this little like weird metallic ball on the ground, and it's actually a tracker. He finds another one, and he goes into the alley, and it's and he finds a Wakandan warrior, one of the Dora Milaje, who's there, who's looking specifically for Zemo. I'm intrigued to see what the course of action she's looking to take there is, because like on the one hand, Zemo is the one who killed King T'Chaka, so it could be a matter of like, hey, we never really got to deal with that situation, so you're coming with us. Or if it's got to do with, you know, the de-escalation by T'Challa in Civil War, or what, I don't know, but that is where this episode actually ends. We don't get any kind of stinger, I don't believe, but I'm really intrigued to see where this is going. We've got a lot of pieces in play. This episode really got a lot of stuff moving. I liked this episode a lot more than the first two. The first one obviously was trying to set stuff up, but it really didn't feel like it was like coming together. The second one, the Star-Spangled Man, did a great job of setting up John Walker as the new Captain America, that character with him and Lamar Hoskins. This one is actually like, now we got to move the plot forward. This is a Zemo episode primarily, but it is, I mean, you know, in addition to Sam and Bucky, who are kind of the constant through line here, but Zemo is also part of this. And we're starting to see the direction things are going. They're on the hunt essentially to deal with the Flag Smashers and potentially deal with the Power Broker as well. I'm wondering if... Oh, did I actually... I don't think I ever finished my thought from the beginning of this video, so that's fun. I had originally thought that John Walker is going to go on a major power trip when the pressure of being Captain America becomes too much. But now I'm starting to think there's a possibility that because there are so many villains and so many players in this whole thing right now, I'm kind of wondering if he's a red herring and he's going to just get fucking annihilated. Like, I'm wondering if he's going to get like blown up or something. Because like, how perfect of a metaphor would it be if the guy who reluctantly but still goes along with it is there to be Captain America because there has to be a Captain America, and he gets in way over his head and he just gets fucking killed, like completely obliterated. There's really, I see only three paths. One is he goes absolutely apeshit and starts trying to control shit, and maybe he even like, you know, joins with or takes in the Flag Smashers or something. Two is he gets fucking killed because he's maybe a red herring for all this stuff. Or three is maybe one of those Super-Soldier, either a Super-Soldier Serum winds up making its way to him. It already kind of seems like he might have a little something in him already. Like rumbling going on. He might have a little something in him already, just based off the stuff that we saw of him throwing like the shield, and it was like his biometrics were like off the charts and stuff, and it's like it could either be that he's just at peak physical performance, or it could be that he is actually got like he's actually had some of this stuff, or maybe like a miniature version of it in him or something, or he's all juiced up or something. I don't know. Though at that point, we're kind of leaning a little bit more into Nuke from Jessica Jones, so maybe not so much. Nuke is another one of those characters that I guess in the comics also, but less so, but certainly in the Marvel, like, you know, 21st century Marvel Productions realm, is meant to be a not Captain America character. His is less like blatant than John Walker, who becomes the new Captain America. I can't remember his name off the top of my head in the show, but he plays, I think, a New York cop, and the idea is he's meant to look really similar to Steve Rogers circa the Avengers, but his, again, is similar to John Walker as a character, not necessarily in the show here, but his character becomes so obsessed in Jessica Jones with like figuring shit out that he starts popping pills that are meant to be like wartime enhancement drugs and shit. But maybe they'll lean into that a little bit as a character development. But I'm kind of the one that intrigues me the most and the one that seems the least likely and therefore is the most interesting to me is that Walker's just going to get fucking killed. And then Hoskins as Battlestar is going to either take up the mantle or join Sam and Bucky or get out of this shit altogether or join the Flag Smashers. Maybe he becomes really, really disenfranchised by the whole thing and jaded if John Walker goes down. So I don't know. There's a lot going on here. I'm very intrigued. I don't know how Zemo's going to end up this season. I don't think he's going to make a heroic sacrifice. I think that'd be too simple. But I also don't know if he's going to, like, get away. Like, I don't know that he's going to, like, all right, haha, I've made it and you'll see me someday or something. I don't know. I really don't know. He could just live in Madripoor. He could become some kind of power broker style mob boss person too. I don't know. Not sure there. But I guess we'll see how things go from there. But yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. I give this episode an 8 out of 10. It's not quite to the level of the very special episode of WandaVision, but it is definitely among the best that I've seen in either show so far. Definitely got me much more interested in the things that are going on. Like, the first 2 episodes are fine, but they didn't do a lot to, like, really, like, get me invested in, like, a big way. This episode really does it for me. I think this is the one that people are going to get kind of hooked on as, like, okay, this show's moving now. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on this. I'm really interested to see how Wakanda factors in now. I'm curious if what happens in the show is going to lead into Black Panther 2 at all. I don't know, but that'd be kind of interesting if that winds up being a thing there. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let me know what your theories are. Try to keep your theories limited to not things involving episode 4 if you can. I'll be covering that on Wednesday, at which point everything is fair game. So for now, at least in these comments, please don't spoil episode 4, at least until the review comes out for that, because that way other folks in the audience, you know, get a chance to catch up and not have it spoiled for them as well. I'm probably going to be watching it either tonight or tomorrow morning, so I'm not at a particularly high risk of getting stuff spoiled, but just for other folks that are following along like this, it'd be good to not have that experience spoiled for them. It's a little late at night. Blah. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you like this video, then like it. We got all sorts of videos like these. I'm doing a lot more like reviews along these lines for the Marvel shows. So there will be more videos like that. If you want to subscribe, we'll have some more of those going on. Who knows? I don't know. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you on Wednesday for episode 4. Bye.